members of the class of 2012, family and friends of the prize, distinguished members of the faculty, ladies and gentlemen. I'm indeed very honored and delighted to receive this honorary degree from Whittier College and to have the opportunity to participate in this commencement ceremony today. It's a great day for all of us. I want to give you a brief personal perspective on a subject that will confront you throughout the next few decades. It's the preservation of the global environment. We have come to recognize only in the past few decades that the impact of human activities on the environment has reached truly global proportions. Of course, also in this past century, there has been enormous progress, particularly in industrial countries. The quality of life has increased in many ways. To name one, the average life expectancy has more than doubled in the past 50 years alone. On the other hand, in this same time period, the population of the world has also more than doubled. As you know, there are now already 7 billion people in the planet. Now, this increase in population is already having extremely important consequences for the environment, mainly through the depletion of natural resources. I'm sure you are familiar with many examples, such as the fact that the tropical rainforests have already been reduced to half their original area. Now, the atmosphere is also an essential natural resource of our planet, and it is quite vulnerable. What is being severely affected is its capacity to absorb large quantities of waste products from human activities without serious consequences. We have problems such as air pollution. The degradation of air quality is beginning to reach global proportions because it occurs so often and in so many places. But perhaps the most serious problem that society is facing today is climate change, which, as you know, is mainly a consequence of burning fossil fuels and of deforestation. There's now a clear consensus among experts that unless society limits emissions of greenhouse gases, there's a risk that the average temperature of the surface of the planet might increase as much as 5 or more degrees Celsius by the end of the century. Now, the basic science of climate change is indeed very well established. On the other hand, there are, of course, uncertainties in our projections, but there is no doubt that the risk is very significant. The worry is that extreme weather events such as heat waves, floods, and droughts could have potentially disastrous consequences for society. In fact, there is now evidence that the frequency of such events is already increasing as a consequence of climate change. There are two compelling reasons to address this problem forcefully without further delay. The first one is purely economic. It turns out that the most respected economic studies point out that taking the necessary steps to mitigate climate change would not be very costly. We're talking about 1, perhaps 2% of global GDP per year, whereas clearly the cost of the damage would be much greater. But the second reason is an ethical one. It would be highly irresponsible for our generation to leave a degraded environment for future generations, making it harder for them to enjoy a standard of living such as the one we have today. The conclusion is clear. We must change our view of the world, and we must adopt new ways of thinking so that we can expect a truly satisfactory future for mankind. It is imperative that the industrialized nations work together with the developing nations to offer sustainable options for sustained economic growth. But let me add a note of optimism and refer to the issue of the chlorofluorocarbons, the CFCs, and the ozone layer that we just heard about. The CFC problem has been essentially solved through the international agreement called the Montreal Protocol. As of 1996, the CFCs are no longer being manufactured in industrialized countries. And of course, we still have refrigeration, air conditioning, plastic foams, aerosol cans, and so on, but with new CFC-free technologies. We have thus an important precedent that tells us that humanity is indeed capable of solving global environmental problems. Unfortunately, we only have this one particular precedent. Nevertheless, I do believe that we can meet the climate change challenge by working together. You, the graduates, you have a tough job ahead of you to deal with the many problems that society is facing today. And yet, I'm confident that you will succeed. I congratulate each and every one of you, class of 2012, la clase del 2012, and I wish you the very best of luck in your careers. Thank you.